Yes, indeed. It's a blessing of the Lord that maketh rich and adds no sorrow. In case you just tuned in, you're listening to A Walk with Jesus, your Christian infotainment program right here on Joy 99.7. And this evening, just like to say good evening to you, Mr. George Frimpong and Mr. Alote, also known as Africanus at the Attorney General's Department. Good evening, sirs. God bless you. I know you're listening now. Enjoy. Well, welcome back on board. My name is Pastor Ransford Abose, and here tonight with me is Mami Sewa Amwakuhini. She's a Ghanaian, born and internationally educated, and she's the curator of Finding the Person Called Me, a self-discovery program. Mami, welcome.
Thank
to
you
A
very
Walk with
much.
Jesus. We're happy to have you tonight.
I am happy to be here.
Okay. All right. So we're going to get into the discussion straight away. People, you're tuned to Joy FM now, and you're listening to A Walk with Jesus. Maybe you have a question or a comment in this discussion. Finding the Person Called Me. What does it mean, Mami Sawa? What does that mean?
Finding the Person Called Me is about you aligning yourself first and foremost with God, and then taking a deep, hard look at yourself. You know, Michael Jackson says it starts with the man in the mirror.
Okay.
Really, that's what it is.
Okay.
And be honest with yourself and look at what it is that He's placed within you, and then take those things and start walking that journey.
So you would this require looking yourself in the mirror every day, or what does it really mean?
If it actually
Walk me
takes
through
that.
the process. Walk us through the process.
Well, it's a long process. The first thing, let me just put it out there as a disclaimer, because it's not something that you do in a one-day thing.
Okay.
So please do not think, oh, one day I just get up and yes, I have found the person called me. It's a process.
Okay.
And so the first process starts with realignment. Realignment. When I say realignment of your spirit with God's spirit. It's a realignment of your faith. So that is the first step. If you are going to start this journey, you have to start with Him. I realize in life, if you are going to discover anything, and I say there's two things. You either find yourself disguised as the enemy, or you're going to find yourself in God.
Wow.
And so choose to find yourself in Him, and then you can start this journey.
But you can find yourself. I mean, I like the previous part, where you find yourself disguised as the enemy.
Sadly enough.
Your own enemy. Wow.
Yes.
That's heavy. Okay, so maybe let's take it from here. Some on the minds of some listeners today, they're wondering, how can I discover myself? How can I discover myself beyond the thought of, okay, maybe I like it that you put it, you take a deep look at yourself.
Yes.
And then find yourself realigned with God, your spirit with God's spirit. Right. What happens if the person sees themselves far away from God? How then do they discover themselves?
The beautiful thing is we have an extremely merciful God. And no matter how far away you think or you feel, if you just cry back to Him, He would be more than happy to come to you. So anybody that's listening, don't ever feel that you're too far away to actually turn back to Him. That's a lie. That's a big fat lie from the enemy. So please, you are never too far away to turn back to Him. And so turn back to Him, and that way you can start the journey. Because what it is that when you are discovering yourself, there are so many things that will come at you. And you need Him to actually be your rock, to be your foundation. Because without Him, when the storms come, you're easily going to get knocked off, even though you think, oh, well, this is what I discovered about myself. But what are you really basing it on? And so that's why it's really critical that you make Him the foundation of this journey of finding the person called me. Okay.
Yeah. Are there some systematic procedures of discovering, or if you will, self-discovery? Is there systematic procedure? I mean, because this, you are a curator of this. You are set up some structure and system that may have been tried and tested over the period to call it that.
Right.
Okay, let's hear it.
Okay, so sometime in 2016, I actually was inspired to put together a workbook.
Okay.
And so when you talk about the structure and the system, so there is a workbook that I put together. Yes, finding the person called me the workbook. And so this was a result of me trying to help a friend to find a job.
Okay.
She asked me, can you help me find a job? I said, sure, I can help you. And we were having a conversation, and she asked me, do I know my strengths? I'm like, oh, yeah. She's like, I don't know mine. And when I get asked that question in interviews, I get stuck. Can you help me?
Okay.
And I said, yes, I can help you. I have been asking myself too many questions because growing up, for the early childhood, I was the only girl.
Okay.
And so I tell people my form of entertainment was actually asking myself questions.
Okay.
And I didn't realize that these questions that I've been asking myself over the years are questions people ask themselves, but they never answered those questions.
Okay.
And so what I did for fun and entertainment was actually somebody else's struggle. And so I was able to take all these questions I've been asking myself and put it together. And the moment I put it together and gave it to her, it was, oh, well, I have issues, because it was just a piece of paper that I put it on. And so I went back to revise and reform, and next thing I know, I've actually produced a whole entire workbook based on the subject, so that it takes you through the journey. So each step of it, or each page, asks you a series of different questions, and the more you reveal yourself, the more it evolves. I call it like a rolling stone. So we dig deeper and deeper and deeper till you finally get a whole picture. And part of the process is actually even painting a picture 20 years away. What it is it that you see?
Okay.
That
20 into your future.
Even into your future, that far out. But for me, the biggest thing is, yes, you've discovered something, but what are you going to do? Because the other thing that most people ask me is, I don't know how to take the first step. That first step is so scary. And by the grace of God, He also gave me a process as to how you can actually take that first step.
Okay. So walk us through the process. Wow. Somebody listening today, like you say, a lot of people get to that point where they get stuck and they don't know what to do, or they probably may have learned all the principles, but taking the first step, then the second step, then the third, and whatever happens. Okay.
So I won't be able to cover the whole entire step, because we probably
Let's do what we can.
So, but I want to actually, the bedrock of this book, there are three key things.
Okay.
The first one is your worth.
Your worth.
Your worth.
What are you worth as a person?
And it's, what do you see yourself? As how do you see yourself? What do you want to be seen for? What do you want to be respected for? What do you want to be known for? That's the first key thing, defining your worth. And in the book, I said, know your worth as described by God. And the reason why I put that in there is that I realized that a lot of stuff, or a lot of times we say things of our lives, and especially those that do the morning declarations, it's like, I am this, and I am that, and I am this. And there are times that you say those I ams, and you don't even believe it, because you're like, you have that little voice at the back saying, you lying, you're lying. So I say, when you say the I ams over your life, find a scripture that actually backs it. So that when you don't believe what you're saying, you at least can believe what God says. So it therefore becomes I am, because God says so.
Okay.
And so when the enemy comes whispering at you, you're like, look, if you have a problem with what I'm saying, go see my Father, because that's what He told me, that I am, because He said so in His word, and that's all I'm going. So please go talk to Him and let me live what He has told me.
Okay.
So that's number one.
Okay.
And then number two is your strengths.
Okay.
And in the book, I say, know your strength as to what God has placed within you. Each and every one of us has been gifted with so many stuff. And because it's something that is a gift, sometimes we take it for granted. And we totally overlook it. I actually had, growing up, I used to draw. Well, I guess I can still do it if I tried.
Okay.
And I had somebody see a drawing of mine, and they asked me, how did you do it? And I looked at the person and was like, what kind of question is that? Like, how did I draw? Like, you take pencil, you take paper, and you put it on. You look and you do. But because it's something that is natural, it's a gift of mine. So I never
struggle to do it.
Right. And so I can't imagine somebody who asks me, how did I do something that comes so natural? And those are the very things that we take for granted. Like people that can sing. I mean, they just open their mouth and it's just so beautiful. You asked me to do it, it'll be a different story.
Exactly. You will feel in the same position as who was asking you, how could you do it?
Yeah. And so it's taking note of all these things that people just, it blows people out. We're like, whoa, you did that? So take a note of all those things that make people go, wow, that is really awesome.
Okay.
And then bring it to the forefront. And the third key thing is your weakness.
Okay.
A lot of times we run away from our weakness, and I'm challenging all your listeners, please don't run away from your weakness. Actually, take a look at it, because sometimes your weakness could be your greatest strength. It's just disguised that way.
How so? How so?
Well, I'll share a story. So I got this new position in my job. I was so excited. I was going to be head of the team. And I show up one day, and there's a pile of paperwork. And they said it also comes with a job. Now, I was not expecting that, because, I mean, it was in the photography business. So it was like, we're going to take pictures, we're going to have fun, and it's all visual. Yeah. And you tell me paperwork. I was not happy. And I actually literally excused myself, and I went to cry, because I really don't like paperwork.
You really went to cry?
Yes, I
did. What was that going to solve anyway?
It made me feel good and better.
Oh, really?
Yes. Okay. Why not? There's an emotion and I'm going through it, so why not? I expressed it.
Okay.
Yeah, so I screamed, cried, and everything, and I was like, okay, God, this is what is before me, so let's go handle this. And so got it myself, went over there, and I looked at it, and I'm like, okay, get to work. What I did not realize was that in my head is a very processed, linear brain of mine.
Okay.
And I was able to organize the paperwork, and I came up with a system that cataloged everything, estimated the time frame it takes to do any of it. So that when my manager comes in and asks me, okay, where is this job? I can tell them where the job is. I can tell them when the job estimated will be done. And if they need it earlier than that, then they know that leave me alone. Let me focus on it. But the key was I did not want anyone to ask me or come disturb me, because I did not want to do paperwork. That was the thinking. I don't want to do paperwork. So, but then when I was done with all the system and it was all there on the board, so you walked in and you knew exactly where every single thing was. I had no idea I was capable of that.
Wow.
And I would have missed that had I run away from a weakness.
From that weakness.
Yeah, for what I perceived to be a weakness.
Okay.
And when I look at the book, I realize it's nothing but a process. Again, it's step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. It is very linear. And when I look back at all the other places I've worked, I realized that I had this really structured, organized way of doing things. I had one of my previous boss called me and tell me that years later, after I left the company, they can find anything that I had worked on just because of the linear process that I created in place. And so something that I thought was a weakness was always there.
Okay.
And was a strength.
Okay. Was that process aided by the crying before you started?
That's a good one. Probably that's what gave me the vim.
Oh, yeah.
You know, our emotions can just like do certain things.
But it can make you break down as well.
Why not? You know, see, when I was growing up, once again, growing up as the only girl, I built this, I actually perceived emotions as being a weakness. I really did, because, I mean, your brothers tease you so much, and I did not want to give them the gratification of knowing that they've got to me. So I built this really hard shell. It's like, oh, you're not going to make me cry, and you're not going to see me cry.
Were you becoming a tomboy because of them?
I was way beyond tomboy. I was like, by the time I got to secondary school, it was just, I was over the top. Yeah.
So only girl among boys. How many boys were there?
There were 3.
Okay.
Yeah, and then sadly for me, I also had 3 cousins that lived next door. So I grew up with 6 boys.
Wow.
Yeah. It was fun.
Okay. I guess.
It was really fun. It was fun. But it made me look down on emotions. And I did not realize the power of emotions till years later, when I had broken down and had an overload of emotions, and I was like, oh, there's a place for emotions. So let's not undermine emotions.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you cannot let emotions take the best of you. Would that help in when you walk in the process of self-discovery?
I think you have to acknowledge it.
Okay.
Acknowledge it, because the first thing in the book is talking about your worth. And that is like the scariest thing, because all of a sudden people have to deal face to face with their fears. And you're going to get an overload of emotions. So I'm like, embrace them. Be able to even identify what those emotions are, and then work through it. Because how else are you going to move past it if you don't even name it, just because it's too much? The only way you can get over it is by acknowledging it. I'm afraid. Good. Now we can work with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does it matter what people are afraid of when it comes to their emotions? Does it matter?
Absolutely. I think so.
How does that affect the self-discovery process?
It will inhibit you. It will limit you. Because you let that fear become something so big. So if you realize, okay, there's been an issue that you are afraid of. Like one of the things that I discover is we want to be so accepting. We don't want to be the odd one out. We just want to be part of the group. And so we're willing to put everything aside and not be true to ourselves just so that we can be part of the group. It's the fear of being alone, the fear of rejection. And I'm like, okay, if you realize that that's what it is, then look at what it is that you think you've been rejected. But if you can't even identify what it is that is scaring you the most, then how are you even going to be over it? Because it will always be in your face. So you have to address it.
Wow. So, number one, know your worth as described by God in His Word. Okay, so if God says that for your chosen generation, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, that kind of thing, I'm the apple of God's eye, I'm God's child, those things, you know that is your real worth. Okay, then know your strength, number two, as according to what God has placed in you. You should be able to identify them. And number three, know your weaknesses. Don't run away from them. That actually there's some hidden strength in your weaknesses. Okay, number four.
So I'm going to leave it those three.
Okay.
Oh, let me add to the weakness. So in the book, it says, know your weakness so God will be glorified.
Okay. Wow.
And the reason why is that when there's a scripture, I believe it was Paul that said that, and he said, in his weakness is when God is glorified. And so when I discovered that, I was like, hallelujah, I don't have to be afraid of being weak now. Because, God is going to get the glory if I'm weak. So why not? Why should I even be bothered that I actually have weakness?
But what if your weakness makes you fall into temptation and in all manner of reckless living? How does God get glorified by that?
It means He has to take you. He has to rescue you. He has to take you out of that.
Okay.
So once you identify that I have a weakness in this area, God, please help me. And by Him actually restoring you is when He gets the glory. So it's going back to Him and asking Him, you work.
To help you out.
Yeah. Do your thing.
Okay. All right. Time exactly 8:30, and you're listening to A Walk with Jesus tonight. We're trying to find the person called me, and we're talking about you. Maybe you want to join the conversation. I've seen a few text messages coming through. You too can send yours. Send it to WhatsApp 0244-340-437. Again, WhatsApp 0244-340-437. You can also join us on Facebook. That is Facebook.com/JoyTime. You have any questions, any comments about finding yourself, discovering yourself, and finding your purpose according to what God has said concerning you, maybe you can send us those questions right away. The text line also 1422 across our networks. Very shortly we'll be opening the phone lines so you can join us live by voice. In the meantime, there's this question I want to ask. You want to finding the person called me, which is the self-discovery program.
Yes.
You did it in trying to help a friend. And eventually you realize that it's become something really big that can help a lot more people.
Yeah.
What is the way forward for those who probably feel lost in life? All the things that we're talking, they feel valueless. They feel that they don't even have any strength or abilities or whatsoever because they've tried to do something with it and it didn't work out. Okay. And they see that their weaknesses overshadow their strengths. What do you do for such a person with what you have discovered?
Okay. So, by the grace of God, I've been able to run programs based on the book. So we just completed our last one, which was the women's edition in October, which was a fantastic session that we had. So God willing, next year coming up, I'll be rolling out the new calendar so that people can actually reach in. One of the things that I'm going to challenge myself, because I don't want it to be limited to just me. I actually want this to go past me. I want everybody to have a copy of this book. I want everybody to be able to reach and get the answers. So I've been putting this on the back burner, which is digitalizing the book and putting it online. So I am confessing I have been a bit late on that. So I'm going to push myself so that when folks can reach me personally, they can actually reach and go online and actually still be able to get the resource. For me, the biggest thing is that frustration. There's an answer for it, and I want you to have the answer. Yeah.
All right. So how can people know their worth as described by God?
Only they can answer that.
Really?
Yes. And they have to answer that. And I insist.
So somebody is asking him or herself right now, as listening to you, saying, how can I know my worth as described by God? How can I do it?
The question is, how do you see yourself? So back to the mirror. When you look at yourself, what do you see? What do you see looking back at you? And the danger is when we don't define our worth for ourselves, society will, whether we like it or not. The definition of worth that was so beautiful. It says it's a value, an indefinite value. An indefinite is something that is vague and is not clearly defined, but there is a value there. And so if you're not going to define it, somebody's going to define it for you. Either society would define it, your family would define it. It will get defined. The sad truth is, if you allow that to happen, you know deep inside that that is not you. That is not who you really are. And we know when we're not doing right because we hear this cry on the inside. You hear your heart breaking, and you're like, but I don't know what and how to even address that. I just know I'm crying. And you know that, especially when you're by yourself. Like, what conversations are you having when you're by yourself, when nobody's around, when nobody's looking? Are you happy or are you crying? Are you content? Do you feel peace? And those are the times that is you have to reach back to him and say, God, this ain't working. I can't keep faking the funk, you know, so I can't fake it no more. So please help me. And you have to honestly answer yourself, what do I see? What do I see myself doing? And the thing is, that question scares us because we're like, well, what if it doesn't happen the way I see it? But what's the worst? Live a lie or live what you see? Because it's really in us. We just don't want to accept it. Yeah.
Can we take reflections from God's word about what our worth is as described by God?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So, like, I take in my reflections and I call it my pillar. Proverbs 31. I said, my worth is far above rubies. And so I am priceless. And when I say I am priceless and I'm looking at myself like, are you really priceless? I'm like, okay, God says I'm priceless, so I am priceless. And so that's what I mean by defining it and using him to back you. So if you say I am bold, then go back to the scripture and find where it says you are bold. There is a beautiful one. It was when God was talking to Moses and he called this gentleman and he says, I have filled him with my spirit and I have equipped him with wisdom and every manner of skill.
Wow.
I was like, well, that is me and that is everybody, because that's what he's given us. He gave us his spirit, he gave us wisdom, he gave us understanding, and he gave us every manner of skill. So I tell myself, I am filled with every manner of skills because he said that. He filled it with me, so I have that. That's my free gift. Yes.
Okay, people, we're in studio tonight on A Walk with Jesus with Mami Sarah Mwakuhini. She's a Ghanaian born and internationally educated, the curator of Finding the Person Called Me, which is a self-discovery program where he was going through that with you tonight. And I know some of you are getting some really insightful thoughts there that can help you find yourself and find your purpose. You can join the conversation. Very soon I'll be going to the WhatsApp platform and then, of course, also on Facebook. Some of you are watching this Facebook live. You can send your comments and your questions so that we can go along. Now, I want to ask you a question. How can a person trace his or her core values? Critical, right?
Critical. Well, the thing about core values are our principles.
Okay.
And usually they're things that, we grew up with. So it's instilled in us even from birth, from our family, from our, our surroundings, from society. Those are just little principles and beliefs. Now, I like to use Moses.
Okay.
And I say core values are those things that when it's struck in a person, they react. So I'll give you two scenarios. And you have two people that walk into a store. They see a little boy or a girl being disrespectful towards the mom. One of them looks at that kid and says, wow, look at that child. No good upbringing, blah, 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 and mommy fortuna. And then the other one walks up to the child and says, Jai. Jai doyana. Those two people, both of them, have respect for elder as their value. But one of them has it as a core value. Guess which one?
The one who told the child to stop.
Exactly. And that's how you know which one is really your core value. You can't help it. It would just, there's that anger that builds up and you're like, okay, that's it.
It will expose you.
That's it. I cannot help myself. I cannot allow this. If I'm around you, you cannot do this.
Okay.
That person will act. The other one is still there. It's a part of them, but they don't have that fire in them. It's not their core, but it is a value system of theirs.
Okay.
So that's the difference.
Okay. So what do you do with your core values when you are able to identify them?
You let that guide you.
Okay.
Let that guide you.
That must guide you in your every step you take.
Every step. Because if, for instance, honesty, integrity, in everything, you live and breathe that. So everyone knows this person is a person of integrity. It doesn't matter where or who is around them. They will always walk in that. That becomes our guiding principles. Our decision makers. Everything's like, wait, am I acting? Am I being a person of integrity? Because that is what I say my core value is.
Okay. So
absolutely, it's your guiding principle.
Integrity, huh? Those are values that are, I think they're extinct.
I like to believe that we still
have men and women of integrity in our generation.
Yes, absolutely.
I pray so too.
We have to have hope.
Okay. Okay. All right. So what can people do to identify their strengths? You've seen your core values. You need the strength, like you mentioned, the fire. There's a fire that undergirds your core values, which makes you to move into action when you see things going wrong or when you see things go right. Okay. How do you identify, or what can you do to identify the strength to back your core values?
So the strengths are things that I say you do so effortlessly. It's so easy for you. It's a no-brainer. You don't even think about it. You're like, oh, done.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and sometimes I think we're looking for this big old thing, and it's not. It's really the little ones.
Okay.
Yeah. So, like, one of my auntie told me, another auntie, she just, took thread and needle, started sewing. She's a fashion designer now.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah. So
she started this young?
Yeah. So let's go back to our childhood, to the things that we used to just pick up and do.
And do easily.
Yeah. Nobody taught us. That's the key right there. Nobody taught you.
Okay. So finding those trends basically are things that you realize that nobody taught you how to do it.
No,
you can just do it by yourself.
Exactly.
And it comes so easily and naturally.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's your strength. Those are things that were placed in you from birth.
Okay.
The key is just identifying it. I mean, there are people that they're peacemakers. They're just naturally born as a peacemaker. They're able to hear and they're able to digest and break things down. That's just something they did. So if we are to find our strength, let's go back to our childhood. The things that we did and the things that folks were like, oh yeah, when you were little, you did this, you did that. And let's pick all of those. Okay. And then when we look at what we're doing now, you can trace and say, oh yeah, I didn't realize that this was a strength of mine because I just did it every day.
Okay. Yeah. It came to you so naturally. Yeah. Okay. All right. So final one will be on the weaknesses, but maybe we'll take a few of the comments on WhatsApp. Well, is all of these people okay? Okay. One says, please, how long can it take to find yourself? I like that question because it means probably that he's been trying to find himself for a very long time now.
Okay, so to be honest with you, it's a lifetime.
It takes a lifetime.
It takes a lifetime. So sometimes, we in a microwave society. We want it right now, like real fast. Like, okay, I spent today, so yeah, boom, I found myself. Okay. See, the beauty of the thing is, whatever it is that you think you found, it's going to be tested. It's going to be pushed. It's going to be questioned.
Okay.
That's the only way you know for sure that this is me. This is who I choose. Because if you say you walk in integrity, how do you know you really walk in integrity if integrity is not tested?
Tested. So you be tested.
Oh, yes.
Well, I mean,
whatever you say, you will be tested. So get ready for it.
Okay. Whoever you say you are, the moment of testing will come. And as to whether you pass it or fail it is proof of the fact that you are who you say you are.
Exactly.
Very interesting. Oh, my word. Okay. I wouldn't say that from Levi or Levi in Adenta says, hello, Pastor. Good evening. Many thanks for this useful and insightful program. Please ask her to mention her contact. Okay, hey, Levi, you chill. In a moment before we wrap up today, you will hear Mami Sawa's contact. She will. Okay, let's go back. In stream, one says, hello. Why is this thing, Shannon? Okay. Adam from Kasua says, hello, Mami. Great listening to you once again. Finding the person called me was a blessing, and I'm looking forward to this year's celebration of our fair. Okay. Well, you had some event like that?
We actually have our end of year celebration, which is our reunion for all our fellows.
Okay.
It's December 1st.
And fellows?
Yes.
Okay.
So since we started May 2016 was our first maiden, what I call affair day.
Okay.
And so it's
what sort of affair though?
It's the only affair that you can have that is legal, because it's an affair with yourself.
Oh Lord help me. Legality and affairs. Okay, we need a lawyer right here. Okay. Wow. Okay, I just want to have a peek into that affair. Really.
It is an awesome affair.
Okay.
Because it's a whole entire day, and we go through the whole entire book, and we actually answer the questions in the book.
Okay.
And there's so much healing as a result of it, so much discovery. And the beautiful thing is you're not doing it by yourself.
Okay.
You're doing it in a group, and it's a safe place.
Okay.
But for me, the biggest thing is, yes, you found yourself, now let's go do something.
Okay.
And so the end of year celebration is us coming to celebrate what we've been able to achieve, what we've been able to accomplish, so that we can give God the glory for what He's done throughout the year.
Okay, so the self-discovery thing is just though for, I discovered myself, but you actually, after you discover yourself, you need to get up and go do something with what you found.
Oh, absolutely.
Really good.
Yeah.
Okay, Christy Arthur says, Pastor, please, where can we get the book to buy? Okay.
So I will actually, if it's okay with you, I will bring copies of the books here so that they can contact you for copies of the book.
Okay. All right. So there you go, Chrissy. And for those of you who are looking to have the book as well, soon you will have information that there's some available at the front desk of Joy FM. You can come and get it. Meantime, you can join us on the phone lines. Call 0302216541. Again, 0302216541. A few more questions on WhatsApp. Please, what is the answer for somebody who's struggling with low self-esteem and depression? Thanks. That's from Jifa. Somebody who's struggling with low self-esteem and depression. What is the answer? What do they need?
What do they need? Well, first and foremost, my heart goes out to you, because low self-esteem and depression seem to go hand in hand. And I discovered this when I was actually in a psychology class. There's a chemical in our body that once you start feeling kind of depressed and low, it produces more of the same chemical. And so you're already feeling bad, and now your body produces more of that chemical. So the first thing is you need to really stop and know that you quickly have to shift from that place, because the body produces more of that. So how can you shift from that state? Find something that actually will make you smile.
Okay.
So if it's a hobby, if it's, once again, embrace that emotion. And the thing about it is, when we depressed, we actually block everybody away. We cut
you cut everybody off.
Please don't do that. Reach out. Please reach out.
But that's sometimes when people feel like they want to be left alone and that kind of stuff, because they kind of grieving and mourning and eating on their own self-pity, if you know what I mean.
Give yourself that space. Tell yourself, okay, I'll do this. Okay. I'll give myself, because we admit it. Okay, I'm depressed.
Okay.
It's once you admit that you are depressed, then you can actually start the healing process. But if you're not even going to admit that you're depressed, then how are you going to even start that?
Okay.
So the last two sessions that we had our men's edition and we had our women's edition, and we actually treated those topics.
Okay.
And we're actually looking at it from the point of disappointment. So how does a man deal with disappointment, and how does a woman deal with disappointment?
Okay.
And we learned that it affects our body. I mean, you actually literally killing yourself when you continue to remain in that state. So admit you. And we all go through it, different phases of it. But then reach out. Don't let that keep you.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. One says, how do you help a friend who is proud but will not accept it? Okay. Well, I believe we'll have somebody on the line. Okay. Somebody also said, thank you, man of God. Hello. Good evening. Good evening, sir. How are you?
I'm fine. I hope you're also doing well.
We're doing excellent. Thank you for joining us tonight on the Walk of Jesus.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a very good discussion.
We thank God. God.
I want to know if someone wants to know his or herself very well. I mean, that it goes into conscientization, because sometimes when you are dealing with something on somebody, you listen to your conscience, but is the conscience going to help you to know yourself better? And secondly, you and somebody who is dealing with you, I mean, can you know yourself better than somebody letting you know yourself? But sometimes the way you behave, the way you react, will help somebody to tell you that this is how you are.
Okay.
We need somebody to assist us to know ourselves better.
Okay. All right. Good question, Joseph. Yes.
Okay. So the first one is about your conscience. And so I asked our caller, what is your conscience?
Okay.
Our conscience is really what God, His Spirit speaking to us. I mean, that's what it is. It's the Spirit speaking to us.
Okay.
And so it's identifying and knowing the right voice. So we have, God speaking, and you have the enemy whispering to us. And that's why it's so critical to actually really understand, read the Word.
Okay.
Because He speaks to us through the Word. So if your conscience is saying something, then answer it or confirm it with the Word.
With the Word.
That's the only way that you can know, is this the right thing? Am I even doing that? And the other thing is the peace. He guides us by His peace. So whatever your conscience is saying, does it give you peace? Or does it give you unrest?
Unrest.
And that's how you know, really, if I'm in the right place or if I'm not. Listen for that peace. And I like to say, do I sleep well at night? If I don't sleep...
because of what you're being through for every day, and then you're troubled.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And then the second part, he was talking about somebody else
telling you that, okay, this is what you have, this is the problem you have, and blah, 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 this is maybe how to fix it.
See, sometimes we get blindsided. So people will see certain things, like, for instance, coaches. Coaches are on the outside, so they're able to see certain things and they can tell you. But at the end of the day, you have to see it for yourself. Because if you're so quick to take what everybody says, then you're drowning yourself. So you're just doing it because they say so. But you yourself, you haven't even... You haven't said anything for you. So, yes, listen to what they're saying, but go before Him and let Him confirm and say, okay, get to that place where you can accept it. Because when the test comes, they're not going to be there to take that test. You have to take the test for yourself. So what are you going to do? You're like, oh, this person says so I should be able to. Let's find out.
Okay, Joseph. Okay, you two can join us. Call 0302216541. We have a few more minutes to wrap up. One says, thank you, Rev. Francis and Adenta SD says, God bless you. God bless you too, Francis. Thank you for joining us tonight. Okay.
I think there was a question about bold. Somebody being, if the person is too bold to admit.
No, but too proud to admit.
Too proud. Okay, too proud. Okay.
Yeah.
So let me quickly address that. So there's something that I also realized. There are things that we can control, and there are things that we cannot control, especially when it's regards to somebody else.
Okay.
And we have to learn and be accepting, because what is in my control? I can control what I say. I can control what I see, feel, what I think, how I respond. I can control that. That's in my control because it has to do with me.
Okay.
When it has to do with somebody else, I have no control over them.
Okay.
So if I say something, I hope, I pray that they will receive it the way I intended it. But if the person receives it differently, that is out of your control. There's nothing that you can do. If you see the person as being proud and they don't see it as being proud, it therefore becomes your word against that person's word. And you guys are going to go back and forth, back and forth. So know that there are certain things that are out of your control and accept that.
Okay.
That person is proud. End of story. Deal with it.
Lord, but maybe it could destroy your relationship with them.
Absolutely, it can.
It can stop you from becoming friends or continuing to be friends if they can't take a correction or rebuke or help from you regarding fixing their own personality challenges, as it were.
But at the end of the day, we're not God. All I can do is present to you as a friend what I see,
okay,
and what I've been revealed to me. But that's all I can do, and I can pray for you that you receive it, and that's it.
Okay, all right. One says, in which instance can you find you? And then his second question is, how much is the book? Okay, so we'll come to that. All right, but which instance would you find you? One more before we could go on. It says, please, what is the answer for somebody who's struggling with, okay, you said that again. And then he said, God bless you, Joy FM. God bless you too, sir, for joining us on a Walk with Jesus tonight. Okay, so at what instance can you find you?
You find you when you're broken.
Whoa.
In your
that's heavy. That's heavy.
Because when you get to that place where you're so tired of being tired, you're like, Charlie, this is not. I just want to see something different.
Okay.
Let me put this out there. Sometimes we have this picture and we want this picture so bad, and we want it now. And that's where the frustration comes in, because it's like, I see it and I want it now, but like it says, a walk with Jesus. Even your vision, take it to him.
Okay.
He will order the steps, but keep in mind that he's ordering the steps, he's controlling the time, and it's we get so frustrated in that, and that's where we have to learn to trust.
Okay.
Because if it's not coming when you want it, then what are you going to do? So we want it, and we start doing stuff, and that's when we start messing things up.
Okay.
So it's a day by day, step by step with him. Yes, I can see what I want to do, what I want to be, what my purpose is. Now I want to take the steps to actualize it. And then life happens, frustrations, stumbling blocks, all these things. And he says, trust me in this. Trust me.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that broken moment is when you come to see who you truly are.
Yeah. And it's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay. I mean, it's basically, I'm just saying, wherever you are, just recognize it, accept it, take it to him. Let's not, because we think, no, I can't be. It's fine.
It's fine.
It's fine.
You can build up from there. Okay.
Yeah.
Hiroshinita. Oh, is this a Japanese woman or something like that? It says, hello there. God bless you and your guest. And thank you so much for tonight's show. We thank God. We thank God. Okay, I think we have barely about some 3 minutes and we need to wrap up. Okay. So this question before we go. And for those probably who, like you say in America, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. What is it easy for people to identify their weaknesses and how?
So weakness is just what you're afraid of.
Okay.
It's all the stuff that like I said, it's a perceived thing. So it's like, somebody's like, oh, I don't like this, and I don't like this, and I don't. And my thing is, why do you not like what it is that you say you don't like, or
Okay.
what it is that you say you're afraid of? What are those things?
Okay.
So if you can identify all those things that make you uncomfortable, is especially in school when they say, "Hey, who's going to do this?" Charlie,
Everybody's hiding.
you're like, no, this one is not for me. This one is not for me. Those are the things that I want you to identify and make a note of it and ask yourself, why?
Okay.
Why am I running away from this thing? Why? Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so final question, and maybe your last submission, because we need to wrap up in the next
Okay.
minute. How much is this book?
Okay, so the book is going for 20 Ghana cedis.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And right now, where can people find any?
I just ordered. I ran out of stock.
Okay.
So I
Okay.
just ordered this. I should have them by the close of the end of the week.
Okay.
Yeah, next week. Yeah.
Okay. Finally, before we wrap up, what do you want our audience to take away from today?
I want you to know that there is hope. That no situation is forever. And that your first step is to realign with Him. Open up to Him. Ask Him to help you. Whatever you're going through, whatever you don't like, just go back to Him and say, okay, I don't like this. Have a heart-to-heart conversation with Him. Be honest with yourself, honest with Him, and just pour it out to Him.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Just in case somebody might want to reach out to you, are you able to give your number,
Yes.
your contact? Okay.
So you can reach me on social media handles, Facebook and Instagram, Finding the Person Called Me,
Okay.
and also Mami Soa Amakahene. And you can WhatsApp me, and please be respectful.
I like
Because I
that.
just had somebody ask me a question that I was like, oh, please, no.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So
You get that coming any day.
it's 026 538 9443.
Okay.
So 026 538 9443. So please
Oh.
WhatsApp, preferably WhatsApp, not phone calls.
Okay.
Yes.
And like you heard us say, be decent and be respectful. All right. And that's been time with Mami Sawa Amwakuhini. She's a Ghanaian born and internationally educated. And she's the curator of Finding the Person Called Me, a self-discovery program that I believe we've tried to just scratch the surface tonight on a walk with Jesus. And it's been very exciting. Thank you.